Are you listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any other platform where you can leave a rate or review? Do you like what we're doing? If the answer to all of that is yes, please consider quickly giving us a 5-star rate. And if you wouldn't mind leaving us a nice review, we greatly appreciate that as well. Okay, let's do this.
Hello, welcome to the Ghosts of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 320 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today we'll be discussing chapter 48 of A Dance with Dragons, which is Jaime 1.
As always, we're going to chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you, unless, of course, you have a Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer tier that includes spoilers. Well, then we are going to spoil things for you, but regardless, hopefully we'll provide you some entertainment along the way.
And listeners, if you haven't noticed, Mackelly's a little under the weather. So
Just a little.
A little froggy, throaty thing going on there.
Working on it.
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts, and it provides some useful background, compare it to television show, indulge in a little pedantry, and cover some relevant news and listener correspondence. Be sure to check out the show notes. They'll provide some additional information about the characters and geography of this chapter. How are you? Well, I know how you are. I've just announced to the world how you are.
Well, that's the thing. Physically, I feel completely fine. If I was capable of such things, could go out and run a marathon.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Not something I could do if I were fully healthy. Right. But if I could, then I could. How I sound is a completely different matter. I hope this is acceptable to our listeners. I hope it doesn't grate on them as the episode goes along.
From my initial take on this, it pains me for you. I have empathy, but it doesn't bother me.
Okay, good. Yeah, it doesn't pain me in any way. My throat's not sore, and I feel, like I said, fine. I just completely lost my voice Friday night. Well, it started Friday night. We went out with the kids. We were at kind of a loud venue, and I had a cold earlier in the week. When we recorded last week, I had a cold, but my voice was fine, so you couldn't tell that I had a cold, I don't think.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah. But then Friday night, I just had to speak. We weren't at like a concert where I was shouting.
Right.
We were at a cocktail lounge, and it started to go. I woke up Saturday morning, and I had absolutely no voice, and I've been building it back since then.
It's so weird. I don't think I've ever lost my voice.
This is the first.
I've had croaky throats, but I've never lost my voice. I've never been unable to get sounds to come out. How
this
strange.
This is the first.
I'm so sorry for you.
I appreciate that.
We should say Happy New Year, right? Because we think this one's dropping. Yeah, this is the first one we're going to drop in 2026. So Happy New Year, everyone. Hope the planes didn't fall from the skies or whatever can happen at New Year's.
Yeah, that's right. Hopefully we'll make it to 2026. And
you know what? If we're 8 days away from oblivion, then I'm really regretting spending my time with you.
This was the last week. Was how I decided to spend it.
If I've got 30 years left, sure, this is a good use of a couple of hours. But if time's a ticket, we need to.
So yeah, my family has been reunited for a week as of today, and
how's that going?
I'm loving it personally. I am having a great time, and I think for the most part, we're all enjoying it, but kids are kids and siblings are siblings, and there's definitely some growing annoyance as the days go on. And yesterday, Molly did something that really annoyed Ethan, and he says she was getting into her car to drive somewhere else, and the three of us, Stacy and Ethan and I, were getting into my car, and we get into the car, and he goes, "It's like she was custom made in a lab to annoy me." I thought that was hilarious. He's like, every single thing she does annoys me.
It's funny because to me, your kids seem very compatible. I mean, I don't know your kids that well, but they just seem like they should get along. They don't seem like they're wildly different people.
Yes. Molly has a little more of my, I don't know, silliness, and Ethan has a little more of Stacy's easily annoyed trait. So, yeah, I think it's just generally the things that Molly does just grates on Ethan's nerves. And probably the other way around, but Molly is sweeter and kinder and lets things roll off of her more easily than he does. So, anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. So I'm as you can see, I'm not in my sling. I've got 2 more days in my sling before I'm free, but I'm allowed to take it off when I'm sitting. So
okay, I see you moving your arm around.
Yeah, my arm is free. I went to the physical therapist yesterday, and every time I go, he gives me new exercises to add to my compendium of exercises that I'm supposed to do. If I did all these exercises as often as he wants, I would literally spend my whole day doing the exercises. 'Cause I've got like 12 of them, and he wants like 20 reps of each 4 times a day. It's like,
oh wow,
dude, this is hours you're giving me. I don't know where I can do this.
Not a lot of time left in the day.
So he gave me a new one yesterday, which is to basically hold a stick behind my back with my hands down, and then pull with my good hand so that my bad hand goes behind my back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. Like drag it along toward the middle of your back.
Exactly. Your reenactment was perfect. It's hard for me to reenact because this is one thing I found actually, is that when you try to show people what the thing is without the stick in your hand, you can't do it. You need the stick to pull the bad hand with it, because otherwise it doesn't go. So, so he demonstrated what he wanted. And then he said, all right, give me 10 reps of that. And then he said, while you're doing that, I'm just going to type this up so you've got something to take home. So he turned and sat at his computer, and then he said over his shoulder, plus I don't like to watch a grown man cry. Yeah. It wasn't nice. It hurt quite a bit.
I bet. Oh, man. I made a grown man cry comment earlier this week, oddly.
There you go.
So we've not mentioned it on these airwaves, but I left the company that you and I have been together at for 15 years. And
yeah, as a reminder, listeners, we have day jobs.
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. I didn't leave this show.
Okay. Yes. I got panicked for a second there.
My first week, my new job was last week, and my manager texted me. My previous manager texted me this weekend and said, "Do you check your personal email because we sent you a virtual goodbye card, and I just got a message you haven't opened it, and I hadn't seen it." So I went and found it, and I happened to be at a department store at the time, and I started to read it, and I was like, nope, can't do this here. I texted him, and I was like, well, I did get it, but I'm not going to respond at the moment because no one feels safe around a grown man crying in a department store.
Well, Mr. Sentimentality, as you know, got the invite to sign that card, and I went, oh, forget it. So don't hold your breath for my comment, because it's not there. I was like, I talk to him all the time. I ain't signing that card.
I did notice an absence of your signature, but I also understood why. People just said such nice things. It was, is very bittersweet to read.
Yeah, and I know you've agonized over that decision, so I'm not gonna riff on your pain and tell you made a terrible, terrible decision.
Believe me, there's I was concerned about being the grown man crying in public. Just this past weekend.
I hear you. I wouldn't have been in that much public, just me in the PT's office, and
right. Yes.
And he was expecting it. If the sobbing, if it had happened, he would have understood why. Let's get down to business. How did we leave Jaime Lannister fully 50 chapters ago? 50. We've had a whole year with no Jaime.
Yeah.
Last we saw of Jaime, he was successfully bringing an end to the siege of Riverrun. Unfortunately, one of his primary targets, Sir Brynden Tully, escaped his clutches. When a letter arrived from Cersei detailing her plight and begging for Jaime's assistance, he had Peck throw it on the fire. He also fell into conversation with a singer, who we know to be Tom Seven Strings of the Brotherhood Without Banners. Mackelly, why don't we give a summary of this one?
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends.
Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes. All right, here we go. Just so the listeners know, I am currently drinking tea, which is something I've never done before in my life, just to try and get my voice as prepared for you all as possible.
Slow down. Hit the brakes on the podcast. You've never drunk tea?
Never. No, I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea. You know I pretty much drink water.
But
That's
tea is not
drink.
as caffeinated, and it's what separates us from the beasts.
I'm still one of the beasts, I guess, except for today. Apparently, I've come into civilization today.
I tell you, you're going to be watching cricket by the end of the day.
And Doctor Who, maybe.
Maybe, yes, that's a good choice.
All right, so let's give this a shot. Jaime Lannister rides into the Blackwood Vale toward Raventree, an ancient, square-towered castle surrounded by a ravaged countryside. The farms and villages outside the walls are burned and barren, littered with animal bones and the occasional human remains. Jaime sees his father's work in all of the destruction.
Raventree Hall is under siege by Jonos Bracken. However, it is a quiet, exhausted affair. Bracken has only a few hundred men and no siege engines. He intends to starve his ancient rival into submission. With Riverrun already fallen, Raventree is the last remnant of Robb Stark's kingdom in the Riverlands. Jaime wants it ended quickly so he can return to King's Landing, back to his king, although he cannot help but also think of returning to Cersei. His thoughts drift to Cersei's letter that he burned with no response. He could not have helped her if he wanted. She was guilty of every allegation, and he was missing a sword hand.
Yep, that he was. Jaime enters Bracken's camp unannounced and enters Lord Jonas's tent in the same manner. He finds the Lord of Stonehenge in bed with a woman named Hildy. The awkward interruption turns more awkward as Jaime struggles not to compare the woman's assets to Cersei's. Jaime does his best to focus on business, but he finds the modesty of the woman trying to cover up oddly arousing.
Bracken, while attempting to dress, reminds Jaime that he bent the knee and means to keep faith, and demands the lands that Jaime's father promised him as payment for subduing the Blackwoods. Lands the Blackwoods stole from his house eons ago. Jaime outlines his plan. He will ride to Raventree under a peace banner, offer Lord Tytos Blackwood terms, and restore him to the king's peace. Bracken bristles, repressing his claims and recounting old grievances and new. His burned castle, the mountain's work, daughter raped, the mountain again, stolen lands and murdered kin at the Red Wedding. Jaime makes it clear that Bracken will get a limited return of his desired rewards for a job half done. Bracken suggests Lord Tytos' only daughter as Jaime's required hostage.
At Raventree, Jaime is admitted without ceremony and meets Lord Tytos Blackwood in the yard, tall and gaunt. Blackwood. Not Jaime. He's been eating regularly, I think. Yeah. Blackwood admits he has no love for Jaime, but isn't unhappy to see him. Tytos denies having protected the still uncaptured Blackfish. He agrees to yield to the Iron Throne, but would never have kneeled to Bracken. Over terms in the Solar, Jaime secures a confession of treason, renewed fealty, gold, and land concessions to Bracken, carefully reduced from Jonas's original demand.
The matter of a hostage proves harder. Jaime inquires about Tytos' daughter Bethany. Tytos pleads. She's only 8 and has never been away from home. He offers one of his 4 remaining sons. Jaime accepts Hoster, Hoss, a tall, bookish boy in his mid-teens. Jaime warns Blackwood plainly. Aiding outlaws like the Blackfish, the Brotherhood Without Banners, or Lady Stoneheart will cost the boy his head. Jaime reminds Tytos that he, Jaime, is not Ryman Frey. Before Jaime departs, Tytos suggests Jaime require a hostage from the Brackens as well.
With the peace made, Jaime meets Bracken again and confirms the lands he will receive: Buckle, Woodhedge, Crossbow Ridge, Honeytree, and Lord's Mill. Bracken sneers at House Blackwood as Jaime's hostage, claiming the boy's blood is water. The Lord of Stonehenge realizes he has said too much when Jaime asks him how many daughters the man has. Jaime then orders Bracken to send one of his own daughters to court to attend the queen.
Jaime rides on with House Blackwood as his hostage and camps at the village of Pennytree. Along the way, Hoster recounts the ancient feud between Blackwood and Bracken, stretching back to the Age of Heroes, sustained through betrayals and remembered wrongs, commenting that peace never lasts where men remember old wounds. Jaime points out that that's not true if there's no one left to remember the wounds, just as many of his father's foes.
Or don't, because they're all dead.
You can ask all of them very quickly.
Yeah. Pennytree bears the scars of war, but still stands. The villagers hide in their holdfast, distrustful of all King's men. Thanks to the mountain, Jaime refuses to force them out or allow his men to steal. He quarters his force in the empty houses, sets guard, and keeps discipline. Near midnight, scouts bring a rider, Brienne of Tarth. Jaime is as surprised to see her as he is by her appearance. She looks 10 years older than the last time he saw her. He asks about the quest he sent her on. Has she found the Stark girl? She has. Sansa Stark is a day's ride away. Brienne can take Jaime to her, but only if Jaime comes alone. Otherwise, the Hound will kill her.
Exciting.
Yes. We'll get to it.
It's always good when two characters come back together, you know.
Yes.
You have these threads, and whenever they coincide, it's always exciting. I will say, actually, I almost modified the script you wrote because nobody actually says the word Sansa. Jaime is asking about Sansa by implication, because that's the quest. The quest was to find Sansa, but he says the Stark girl, and she says, "Yes, I have her."
Okay.
But in actual fact, she came a lot closer to finding Arya Stark than she ever did to Sansa Stark.
Yes, she's never been anywhere near Sansa Stark.
Right, yeah. So
distinction.
she may have been completely intentionally. But funnily enough, actually, when I saw what you'd written, I went and looked at a couple of other sort of like summaries of the chapter, and everyone thinks that someone said Sansa. But I went back and read it again, and nobody says Sansa at all. So
the Mandela effect, I think that's called. Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, we will definitely get to that, but a lot of things don't add up in that last exchange there.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, well, like you said, we'll get to it, but it's like, I'd completely forgotten what was happening to Brienne. I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen Jaime, but it's been a long time since we've seen Brienne as well, so it's like...
Almost, yeah.
Has she found Sansa?
Could Sansa be a day's ride away? I don't know. We'll get there.
Yeah, so the journey to Raventree is kind of interesting because he passes through the Blackwood Vale, which is ravaged by the signs of war. You know, he says there's bones by the side of the road, some of them animal, some of them human, the signs of housing destroyed and fields ruined. Also that the Vale itself, it has the word Blackwood in its name, but there's no trees there. It's been so long that it's been completely cultivated and turned into housing. So there are no trees which gave the Vale its name. So it was kind of an interesting bit of sort of historical perspective on the whole thing. But it's interesting that he blames his own father for the mess. I mean, to be fair, Tywin didn't start the war.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes. Well, in some ways, he's the one that sent the mountain into the Riverlands.
That is true. That is why he is absolutely to blame. I agree. I mean, cutting to the chase, yes, he caused the devastation of the Riverlands. Absolutely, he did.
Yeah, I guess it all started when Catelyn took Tyrion hostage, but then Tywin sent the mountain into the Riverlands to create a situation where Edmure, who was in charge because of his father's failing health, would try to defend every blade of grass, knowing that I think they often say his heart is soft, his head is as soft as his heart, or something like that.
Yes, yes.
He
which is
cares
why
too much.
I've always had sympathy for Ed Muir.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
So we do finally, in the last Jaime chapter, he read the letter from Cersei, but he burned it without us knowing what it said. Right? I'm remembering this correctly.
Yes.
I mean, I did go back and have a look. So I'm not asking I'm not asking you to check my 50-week-old memory. I'm asking you to check my 2-day-old memory.
Right. You are correct.
And so it was kind of like a sort of like knee-jerk reaction to it. Just burn it, But now, obviously, the word's stuck in his head because he's actually remembering every facet of it. And
he got it completely right.
Yeah, it is a heartfelt. Well, yes, I mean, to be fair, George Martin could go back and look and
right.
copy it verbatim. But the fact that he did that shows that it stuck with Jaime, and it is heartrending and heartfelt. But it is also interesting that his analysis of it is, I mean, it seemed like he was just hardening his heart to her. I'm just going to ignore this plea because I don't need to talk. She's not the boss of me.
Right.
But now in his analysis, and perhaps he's just trying to sort of like give himself an excuse for his initial reaction, he's saying, what could I do anyway? She's absolutely guilty of the charges. And what am I? I'm a one-handed former knight.
Yes. Well, it's still technically a knight, but...
Well, I think in his own mind,
right. He's a former formidable foe. Yes.
That's what you need.
Yes. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. It seemed in that chapter like he was dismissing it, like, psh, Cersei, don't come to me with your issues that you created.
Right. It felt like what he was doing was like, oh, it's a typical Cersei overreaction. I don't care. I'm going to just throw it away.
Right.
It's the kind of thing she would pull, and I don't care about it, and I've stopped caring about it. But that he knew it was different. He knew it was a real thing that needed attention.
Yes. Yeah, and he actually thought about it and thought, there's nothing I can do.
Right.
Right. So
and just to remember,
it is good to get in his head.
Yeah, just in case your memory is not as good as Jaime Lannister's, it said, come at once, help me, save me. I need you now as I have never needed you before. I love you, I love you, I love you, come at once. So it was pretty... It's hard to hear it's hard to hear Cersei Lannister's voice in that. That's not how she sounds typically.
Right. Yes. I think it is pretty close to what she told Qyburn. Qyburn is the one that wrote the letter.
Right. Yeah.
We were there. She was in a pretty vulnerable state, being in the Great Sept of Baelor as a captive. So I can't remember if it's exactly how she said it, but I think she was pretty pleading in her.
So the words are from the chapter where she dictated it to Qyburn, not from when Jaime first read it. I see.
Yeah, maybe I think we did get the actual letter. We got both parts of it.
Okay. And was there more to it than that? Because he's inferring quite a lot about she's guilty of the charges. Because they're not mentioned in what we got quoted here.
That is an excellent point. I went back as well and read Jaime's version of the letter in the last Jaime chapter. And yes, this is all it says.
That's all it says.
I wonder if he's gotten additional news since
Maybe, because you're right. There's just not enough there. I mean, like, yeah, you're right. Maybe Ravens have flown to say the Queen is arrested, and now he's like, oh, I see why she needs me now.
Yes, now it all makes sense.
Yeah, right.
So that would explain why at the time he just thought, Cersei, leave me alone.
But again, there is a facet to that statement which sounds like Cersei's in real trouble.
Yes.
Although she is manipulative, maybe she can turn that on when she wants to. But she's so haughty, it's hard to imagine her debasing herself like that on a regular basis.
Agreed, yes.
She stubbed her toe and she wants him to come and rub it better. Right. I can't imagine her doing that. She would be more peremptory. She would be more, come home, you are the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard and you belong right here, right now.
Yeah.
And as soon as she gets there, start rubbing my toe,
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is true. It definitely feels different than how Cersei would normally react. But while he's thinking about this, about how she does need him, but there's nothing he can do, and he also is thinking about how he wants to wrap up this last siege because it puts an end to the issues in the Riverlands, and he can return home to his king, in quotes. While he's thinking that, he's thinking deep down, and also to Cersei. Let's not kid ourselves. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And then he goes from that to thinking about the other things, the things that Tyrion said, sleeping with Lancel and Osmond Kettleblack and Moonboy, for all I know. And you could just feel that struggle between, he loves her. Not only is she his twin sister, she is also the only love he's ever known as far as, that relationship type love. And you could just feel that struggle between wanting to be with the Cersei that he's always been with, and also being aware of she's not the person that he thought she was, possibly.
And then there's a nice bit of narrative flow, because this then segues into his intrusion into Jonos Bracken's tent, where Jonas is in flagranti with Hildy. And I can pretty much say confidently that Jaime is missing Cersei, because he looks at Hildy in a way that somebody who has got lustful ideas in his head might look at a woman,
Yes, it felt awkward was the term used in the summary, and I think it's a good description. It felt very juvenile, like almost like he'd never seen a naked woman before, He kept staring, a bit flustered, but then he was taken by her modesty, and he thought, the fact that she keeps trying to cover herself up is more arousing than if she just went about her business completely naked.
He also says at this point, he accuses her of being a prostitute, which she denies, and he comments that Tyrion was the expert with prostitutes. He himself had only ever slept with one, and I wondered, did he mean Cersei?
Yes.
Oh, he meant Cersei.
Yes.
Okay.
Harkening back to the Lancel, Osmond Kettleblack, Moonboy reference that was just in his mind shortly before.
So he's on a roller coaster
exactly.
right there.
It's the love and the hate, that the love and the anger and the betrayal that has him all over the place. And I wondered if his reaction, sort of juvenile reaction, is possibly an indication of a stunted relationship with women and with sex, having only been with one partner that started very young and happened to be his own sister, and it was a very shameful, kept hidden, secret relationship. And then he took his Kingsguard vow at 15, a vow of celibacy, which was not kept with Cersei, we know, but it did prevent him from possibly having a wife and, expanding his view of sex and relationships with women.
Yeah. The scene where he gets in the bath with Brienne, was that in the books too?
Yeah, it was.
But I don't remember it, is the problem. So
he just hopped in, I think.
Yeah, but you see that's why this is. So I'm harking back now to the fact that he got into the baths with Brienne, and he seemed very confident and comfortable with being with the naked women and being around naked women at the time.
Yeah.
And so is that just because of how he feels towards Brienne versus how he feels towards Hildy, who he doesn't know? Or
maybe it's a good distinction.
Has he sort of like, I mean, that was still, he'd only recently lost his hand, as I recall, when he got in the bath with Brienne. Whereas this, maybe his view of women has sort of like, I get the feeling, even if he wasn't sleeping with lots of women, he was very confident around women before he lost his hand. And I'm wondering if he's now sort of regressed back to some child who sort of ogles at women and doesn't know how to talk to them. Hildy has the better of the conversation when they banter, and Hildy's clearly winning this one.
Yes, yeah. That's a really great counterpoint, because it is a very different reaction to the two women.
Yeah,
he was kind of swaggering. He's the one that went into the baths with Brienne, who was already in there. So yeah, makes things even a little more confusing as to exactly what is going on here.
He has been in the saddle a long time. Just saying, it could just be the biological thing going on.
Well, I guess that's an option as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's around this time that he thinks to himself that he needs to tell Myrcella that she is his daughter. He doesn't vocalize those words exactly, but he thinks,
in actual fact, when I read the
Myrcella.
sentence you're referring to, I didn't know what the heck he meant. He said, I'll have to tell Myrcella, but it was like, that Hildy isn't a prostitute? Why would she care?
I think he followed it up with, the Martells aren't going to like that. They think
right, yeah. I mean, from context, you could get what he was talking about, but it was kind of a non sequitur.
Yes, right. And it just made me think that, is he really... That's dangerous. It's very risky and dangerous. It very well could cost Tommen his crown and everyone else their heads. It
also felt like it followed on from a thought about telling Tommen, but he didn't have that thought that we recall. He said he wanted to go back to King's Landing to be with his king, but he didn't indicate that was anything more than
doing his
general
duty
concern and his duty as Kingsguard, right? But maybe inside he was thinking, it's time the kid knew. And now he's following it up with the secondary thought of Myrcella too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a risky venture though to go around. He's talked to Cersei and said, "Let's just come clean," and she said, "Tommen will lose his crown, and the rest of us will be either imprisoned or, at the very worst, very least, outcast."
But there is an argument for his point of view. Where does the power lie? It's always the question.
Exactly.
They have the power. They can do what they want. So for the second time in 2 Jaime chapters, he's less fond of the people besieging the castle than he is of the people inside the castle.
Right.
He has basic contempt for the besiegers and sort of grudging impressedness for the poor besieged people.
Yeah, and maybe that goes back to the fact that he is the Kingslayer. And his reputation is tainted by being the man that betrayed his king and killed him, when we know he was doing it to save a city full of people. But maybe that has created a respect for those who stick to their vow. Blackwood took a vow to Robb Stark.
Right, as did Bracken. But Bracken broke it quicker. That's why Bracken's on the outside and Blackwood's on the in. Yeah.
Now, of course, I think had anyone else but Jonos Bracken been the one doing the besieging, the Blackwoods might have bent the knee sooner.
Right. I mean, in fact, that's mentioned in the chapter that Blackwood said, I was ready to bend the knee. I just wouldn't do it to him because he's my arch enemy. Yeah.
That's what was meant in the summary by he's not unhappy to see him.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So Jonas Bracken suggests that when he takes hostages, he takes Tytos' 8-year-old daughter. And that is just spiteful. I mean, that is... It is, on some levels, good advice and reasonable to say. Because if you want his fealty, take the thing he loves the most away from him.
Well, yes, there's that.
But you could also go in there and gauge the temperature. And from my temperature gauge, if I was Jaime, I'd be like, these people are ready for peace. I barely need a hostage. They're not gonna fire up. They might fire up and kill the Brackens, but that's just because they hate the Brackens. It has nothing to do with their feelings towards Tommen.
Right. And you know that Jonas knew that this was the most significant way to do damage to Tytos Blackwood. Take his youngest and only daughter. Jonas mentions that Tytos has 6 sons. It turns out he only has 4 sons because 2 of them, one was killed.
Lucas was killed at the Red Wedding.
Was he? Okay. One was killed at the Red Wedding, and his youngest son, Robert, I believe it was, died 9 days ago due to probably issues from this siege and lack of nourishment and such. So, but it was very new Jaime not to create the added stress of taking the daughter from home. But you get the little flash of true Lannister when he feels like Haas is enjoying this a little too much. And he turns to them, to both father and son, and says, listen, this is no joke. if I catch wind that you're harboring any of these fugitives that he
Outlaws,
lists off,
yeah.
I will send you this boy's head. And remember, I am not Ryman Frey. And what he's meaning by that is, you remember, Ryman kept trotting Edmure to the gallows every day, threatening to hang him, and then not doing it.
I wondered, I didn't quite follow the Ryman Frey thing, but that makes perfect sense. I thought Ryman Frey might be sort of like being held responsible for the Red Wedding sort of thing. And so he's saying, I'm not Ryman Frey. I'm not going to kill him just out of spite, but I will kill him if you give me cause. You know, he will need a stool because that kid is 7 feet tall, apparently. Gigantic. I tell you what, if I was there, I'd be like, oh, you know, my intramural basketball team at King's Landing. Right. Let's bring Haas home.
Could use a center. Although it seems like people grow really tall here in Westeros. There are a lot of really tall people. The mountain's almost 8 feet tall. Hodor's almost 8 feet tall.
I mean, obviously there's some exaggeration here. Like I believe he regretted making the wall 700 feet tall. He might want to think about having so many 8-footers wandering around as well. But that being said, I believe, purely based on hunchy McHunch, I have no evidence for this, that the ruling families in a sort of feudal system would be the physical specimens. Their prowess in battle would lead them to be the leading houses of their region, and therefore they might breed bigger and bigger as they go.
Yeah.
You know, the longer a feudal system goes on, the more the physical disparity between the lords and the serfs might become.
The haves and the have-nots. Yeah. They're eating more healthily and more regularly.
Right. And if you are, 6'4" and you are constantly fighting for your lands, you might find yourself more and more attracted to the 6'2" women just because you start thinking about, it'd be nice if my son was 6'8",
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I take your point. Now, one thing that both sides, but pretty much the only thing that that Jonos Bracken and Tytos Blackwood agree on. Can
I guess what you're going to say?
Go, please.
Hatred for the phrase.
Hatred for the phrase, exactly.
Yeah.
Their fellow Riverland lords. And Bracken mentions that he lost a dozen Bracken men at the Red Wedding, and Tytos mentions that, like you said, Tytos mentions that he lost his son at the Red Wedding. And he said he brought up the fact that Walter's fourth wife was a Blackwood. And he says something along the lines of, kinship counts for no more than guest right at the twins.
Mm-hmm.
And you just, with the last Theon chapter, when we were in the North, they were disparaging the phrase. So from the North down to Dorne, basically, the phrase reputation has been destroyed.
That's the thing. We are witness to all of these, whereas Jaime's only seeing it here, the Boltons are only seeing it in the North, Cersei might get it occasionally in King's Landing. But if you piece all this together, that is really troubling for the long-term alliance.
Yes.
You, the Lannisters, have put in with the phrase, and they don't have a single friend.
Right.
They have begrudging followers, but they don't have a single friend.
And maybe as long as they are in the good graces of the Lannisters and the Lannisters stay in power, the phrase will skate by maybe into the day, if we ever get to the day where this betrayal is forgotten. We might not, because of how many houses and regions were affected.
The one thing about the phrase, though, they're like an infestation of fleas. There's so many of them. It's hard to rid yourself of all of them.
But if Jaime starts telling the truth of the incestual nature of his relationship with Cersei and what are believed to be Baratheon children, and coupled with the Iron Bank backing Stannis to victory, the phrase might suffer right alongside the Lannisters once that protection is gone.
Yeah. So it all pans out as we described. I mean, Tytos makes peace and he's ready to go down on his knee to make peace, but Jaime doesn't need the trappings of this. He just wants this over with. So they get down to business. He settles for about half the land that Jonos Bracken was after.
Right.
And like we said, it doesn't take the most punitive hostage he could take. And then on the way out to Bracken, he takes a hostage from Bracken too, to indicate what Jaime feels about this whole situation. You know, both these families turned their cloak against the Lannisters,
right?
And the Brackens just turned back quicker, so they are worse turncloaks than the Blackwoods in Jaime's view.
Yeah, that's exactly his philosophy. Is now you're telling me you're in the King's Peace. Who's to say the next king that comes along, you're not going to turn your cloak again, just like you did now?
Yeah. So after they leave, he heads toward. I mean, he's heading back towards Riverrun on the way back to King's Landing is his plan. But he takes a different route because on the way up to Raventree, he didn't come across any of the outlaws he was hoping to root out. So he takes a different route back, and they go via Pennytree. Pennytree sits in the valley between two hills, which have a rude name. They were known as Barber's Teats, and then they became Missy's Teats. And basically, the Brackens and the Blackwoods, because they can argue over anything, disagree over what they should be called.
Right. And once again, who is surprised to see that Aegon the Unworthy, Aegon the Fourth, was in the middle of the controversy here? And it stems from the fact that both Barbara Bracken and Melissa Blackwood were mistresses of King Aegon, and he originally named those hills Barba's Teats. While Barba was one of his mistresses, he put her aside for Melissa Blackwood because what better way to stir up more controversy than going from a Bracken to a Blackwood? And the two women were built very differently. Mm-hmm. Barba was a lot more voluptuous. Mm-hmm. Missy was more thin, yes. And apparently Barba had mentioned that Missy was built like a boy, and so Aegon gave Missy Barba's Teats and renamed them Missy's Teats. And it's just when you look at the history, Aegon IV has caused so much trouble for the realm with his mistresses everywhere and bastards everywhere, and then legitimizing the bastards, leading to all the Blackfire rebellions.
Yeah.
And,
although I'll give him a little bit of grace here. The Blackwoods and the Brackens were going to argue. It didn't matter what he did.
Right. They would have come up with some other reason. Yeah. Right. But actually, both of these two women, Melissa Blackwood and Barbara Bracken, they've had some noteworthy bastards from Aegon.
Oh.
Missy Blackwood was the mother of none other than Brynden Bloodraven Rivers.
Oh, right.
The former Hand of the King, Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and current Last Greenseer, who we met in the last two, technically, Bran chapters. Meanwhile, Barbara Bracken is the mother of Aegor Rivers, a.k.a. Bittersteel, the founder of the Golden Company.
Wow.
And there was many of clashing of the heads between Brynden and Aegor as well. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Very nice little bit of background there. I will say, just these two Jaime chapters are kind of like duplicates of one another. They overlap so perfectly. It's kind of weird, in fact.
Yes. Yeah.
Except he doesn't have to do as much this time because Riverrun was ready to hold out until Edmure coughed it up. But
right.
Raventree Hall was ready to give up. They just needed someone else to represent the other side, and Jaime was that.
Exactly, yeah. There's definitely a different feeling inside the castles.
Yeah. But even there, I mean, in both places, he definitely had a greater fondness for those on the inside. He enjoyed his interaction with Brynden Tully. Well, I mean, apart from being abused by him.
Right, yes. I think he kind of liked that part too, maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, but so this Bracken Blackwood, not Blacken Brackwood, feud dates back to the Age of Heroes, we're told by Haas, which basically means that it dates back well beyond written history, because that's pretty much what the Age of Heroes was, is, time of legend.
We learn all this from Haas, right? Who's bookish.
Yes.
Even though he's 7 feet tall, he's not a fighter. He's a reader.
Right. And and Jaime often, multiple times in the chapter, thinks about how much this boy and Tyrion would get along, and they could argue about what Jaime would consider silly things. But they both claim that they were once the kings, and the other house was their vassals, and they stole.
It's almost easy to miss that, actually, because you forget who's narrating it. But both of them said the exact same story, but with the two families reversed.
Right. We were kings,
the ancient
they were
kings,
vassals.
and they were vassals.
And they betrayed us, and that's why this all started. But like Hoster says, it's never going to end until both sides forgive the past and move forward. And the son of Tywin Lannister knows another way that you could end it here. Mm-hmm. And that, of course, is rip the house out root and branch. Yes. And like we mentioned in the summary, he mentions all the cites all the times that the Lannisters destroyed entire house lines.
The Casterlys, the Rains, and...
the Tarbecks.
The Tarbecks, yes, that's right.
And the Targaryens to some extent. He says, go ask the Prince of Dragonstone, referring to Rhaegar, his wife, and their children.
Good point.
So,
yeah. While he's talking to Hoss, he thinks that Tyrion would really like Hoss. And because Jaime is just... this is the way he's wired, he thinks of Tyrion fondly for a moment before remembering what he's done, the whole killing his son. But again, I sometimes think that Jaime gets sort of like on rails for what he believes. Because I really think, he started to believe that Tyrion was guilty and that Cersei sleeps with Moonboy. But neither of those two things really hold water if you think about it. And Jaime used to believe that. But he's got onto this train of believing it, and now he doesn't seem to be able to shake himself off it.
Yeah, and Tyrion told Jaime that he killed Joffrey, but the context has to be taken into consideration. He was so angry when Jaime confessed that Tysha wasn't the prostitute that Tyrion always believed. She was just truly a crofter's daughter who actually did love him. Yep. And then Jaime, after this revelation, then Jaime says, did you kill Joffrey? Did you do it? What do you think there's a good chance he might say, whether he actually did it or not?
I know that personally, I wouldn't have said what Tyrion said. But given that Tyrion said it, given the context you just described, I'm not sure I believe it. That's the thing. That's the bit that Jaime seems to have lost somewhere along the line here.
Yeah, exactly. So they arrive at Pennytree, this little village, which actually somewhat comes into play in the Dunk and Egg, as we like to emphasize those words,
very exciting
series, because forgot his name. Because Dunk's knight, when Dunk was a squire to Arlen of Pennytree, this is where he hailed from. Now, Dunk said he'd never been to Pennytree, doesn't even know where it is, but we have heard this town before. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything more to go on for background for Pennytree, and which means that sadly, we can't dispel the mystery regarding the pennies that are nailed to the tree, giving the town its name of Pennytree.
It feels like it's a full luck thing. Nail a penny to the tree for luck.
Yes.
That's what it feels like to me, but we weren't told. Because he thought to ask Hoss, and then he was like, I can't be bothered,
Some mysteries are better left as mysteries, which I guess is what Martin wanted here.
Right,
because he didn't divulge it to us.
Yeah. And then Brienne arrives. The guards find her coming into the camp, and help me, Obi-Wan. How did we leave Brienne of Tarth? Because I don't remember, of course.
Yeah, it's been too long. A lot of what happens here at the end of the chapter is very suspicious, because let's just go through the characters at play here. Assuming she was referring to Sansa, because Jaime's quest for her was to find Sansa. And he mentioned to Hoss that the other Stark daughter, Arya, was just married in Winterfell. But Jaime also saw that Stark daughter and told Brienne, don't go chasing that one. That is not Arya Stark. So anyway, let's say she's talking about Sansa. Last we saw of Sansa, she was at the gates of the moon in the Vale with no sign of leaving for the Riverland. She had just been betrothed to Harry Harding, the heir to Little Lord Robert. So it seems unlikely she is a day's ride away in the Riverlands. Now we get to Brienne. Last we saw of her, she wasn't anywhere near the Vale in any kind of position to rescue Sansa. She was caught by Lady Stoneheart, asked to kill Jaime to prove her loyalty. She refused, and she, Sir Hyle, and Pod were being hanged for treason. And it wasn't until Brienne saw Pod struggling to breathe as he was being hanged that she shouted a word. We don't know what the word that she shouted was. Okay, that's 2 of the 3 parties here. The third is the Hound. Last we saw of him, he was dead.
Right, and just for the context here, she says that the Hound will kill the Stark girl if Jaime doesn't come alone.
Yes, that's an important detail. Yes, but we were told by the elder brother on Quiet Isle that he himself buried the Hound. We have suspicions that maybe the Hound is not dead.
Right.
But yeah, so it all adds up to a high unlikelihood that the Hound has Sansa a day's ride away here in the Riverlands. So what does that mean is the ultimate question.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll leave that for the spoilers.
Well, we'll leave it for the spoilers. But as far as discussion goes, so what do we think is happening here? Do we think that she shouted a word that stopped the hanging?
We stopped the hanging. So it must have been, the word must have been, I capitulate and will kill Jaime for you.
Yes.
Nothing else would have got to chop down. It's a long word. But
yeah. So
this is bad news for Jaime, I would say.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Could Brienne go through with something so devious? I guess so. I'm sure Lady Stoneheart still has Pod and Sir Hyle.
Right.
And if she doesn't come through, Stoneheart's going to kill them, likely.
Yeah. And so Stoneheart is Catelyn Stark.
Right.
And she made a deal with Jaime to protect her daughters in return for Jaime's freedom. Is there any way she might be convinced by Jaime's actions with Brienne that in actual fact he was trying to fulfill his side of the bargain? Could he talk his way out of this? Could he Tyrion his way out of this?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That's a very good question.
Because we know he tried. Arya was already gone before he got home, and
Sansa was too.
They were both gone, right, exactly. And the first thing he did was give a Valyrian steel sword to the most fierce fighter he knew and tell that person to go find her at all costs.
Yeah. That's a really good question. Could him showing up indicate I'm trying to help?
Right, exactly. Yeah. I came to save her. I was willing to fight one-handed against the Hound to try and save this girl. Who you made up.
Now, Jaime says something about Sansa in this chapter. He says, when he's talking to Hoss says, okay, back up even further. After Jaime says, oh, I know a way you can end this age-old rivalry with the Brackens,
Kill them all.
And yeah, exactly. And Hoss says, is that why you killed all of the Starks? And Jaime says, I didn't. The 2 daughters are still living. One's getting married, and the other, let's just hope she marries some commoner and forgets that she was ever Sansa Stark. Yeah. So he has that thought, but at the same time has tasked Brienne with finding Sansa, maybe just so that Jaime can say, go hide, and never be Sansa Stark again. Or maybe not. We don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if he found Jaime and could bring her... Sorry. If Jaime found Sansa and could bring her back to King's Landing, she's still an extremely valuable marriage token.
Yes.
You could marry her to a high tower or a Frey or something. And they would be thrilled to have that.
You'd have to first, though, get the charges cleared. Well, it gets complicated because she's older than Arya, which means her claim to Winterfell is better.
Yeah.
And also, you'd have to clear her of charges of poisoning Joffrey.
But maybe what you do is you wed her to a lord of somewhere. Wed her to the lord of the Twins or of Highgarden or something like that, who wouldn't want the North. Let the North go to the second order. I don't care.
Well, yeah. Yeah, you could work it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to give it to some lowly house who then say, hey, let's go take the North, That's not a great look. All right. I think that we've done enough. Let's go to spoilers. Remember, if you join the upper tiers of the Buy Me a Coffee Sustainers, you get the spoilers, and you can try it out for a week to see if you like it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you tried this out for the spoilers and you're now thinking, I ain't paying for that, try some of the older episodes. There was more spoilers in them.
It's tough when this is there's no future advancement on this particular storyline. But we did what we could, and I feel like, it was a good discussion.
Because of Mackelly's voice, I'll do the background for him this week.
Okay.
But even though he wrote it, so I'm not trying to steal the glory here. I'm just
I appreciate it. Thank you.
House Blackwood tells Jaime that there have been many peace periods between the Blackwoods and the Brackens over the centuries, many of such set off by marriages between the families, as we were just saying, that every Blackwood has Bracken blood and vice versa. Well, today I'm going to tell you about one of the most famous of those Bracken Blackwood offspring. Benedict Rivers was a bastard from both House Blackwood and Bracken. Because of this, he was rejected by both houses. That's not good, is it? You really want them to be accepted by both houses.
Yeah, it's right on brand, though.
Yeah. That is until he proved to have great prowess as a knight. Then suddenly both sides wanted to claim him. So Benedict spent 30 years subduing petty kings throughout the Riverlands. At that point, he allowed himself to be crowned King of the Trident. He created his own house, House Justman.
Take that, Brackens and Blackwoods.
Exactly. That'd be good, actually. Tell them all, you've all got to change your name to Justman now.
Right.
He reigned for 23 years before being succeeded by his son Benedict II, who reigned for over 60 years. House Justman ruled the Riverlands from the Neck to the Blackwater for nearly 300 years before the final Justman king Benar II was defeated by the whores of the Iron Islands. What a shame. We could have had a peaceful Riverlands if the Justmen had survived.
Yeah.
Well, good. That's nice background. Thank you. I'd never heard of Benedict.
Yeah, I came across him and I was like, oh, this is perfect for this chapter.
It's comparison with the television show. Everything here was dropped. There is no Lady Stoneheart in the television show. Jaime and Brienne do re-meet, but that's much later on in the story. All the lovely Blackwood Bracken animosity is basically dropped. I tried to find if a Blackwood or Bracken showed up in any season, but there isn't a single mention in any season after season 2.
Oh wow!
So,
okay, yeah.
Pedantry Corner. Now, I got something for you today. Don't read it. Don't read it. I want this all to be fresh to you. I want reaction here.
Yeah, I actually didn't read it, so this is
my
fresh
favorite
reaction.
pedantry by some distance is moon phase pedantry.
I can see that. Yeah.
This technically is more about light, but the moon does come in. All right. So we skipped over some of this, but because it wasn't very interesting. But for pedantry, it's quite interesting. So Mackelly, I'm going to describe a part of Hoss and Jaime's journey. Okay. I'm going to split it into 2.
All right.
And then I'm going to ask you to identify how long the 2 parts of the journey took. All right. It's important you do that. So pay attention. Okay.
All right.
So the start of the journey I'm going to say is when they crossed the ford of the Widow's Wash.
Yep.
And that was at sunset. Okay. That's important. It was at sunset when they crossed the ford of the Widow's Wash. And from that vantage point, they could see the 2 hills that were named for Lady's Anatomy. Right? They couldn't see Pennytree yet. They knew it was there in between the 2 hills, but that vantage point gave them a clear view of why the hills got their names, okay?
Yes.
From that point, they rode up to Pennytree. They went into Pennytree. They found the place deserted. They investigated the cooking pots and could feel that all the fires had been put out, but the pots were still hot. Jaime looked at the Pennytree, okay?
Yep.
And that's the halfway point. Not the halfway point. That is the dividing point of this story, okay?
Okay. Yes.
Now here's the second part. They went from that up to the keep. They asked the citizens to open the doors of the keep. The citizens said, no, we don't like opening doors to king's men because they kill us all.
Right.
Jaime's men debate, trying to break down the doors, but Jaime's like, forget it. Why are we terrorizing these people? We'll just stay in the houses, we'll eat our own food, and we'll leave in the morning.
Right.
Okay, so then they go back into town and they unsaddle their horses.
Okay.
All right. So that timeline, because the reason I know the timeline here is because a half moon rises at that point.
Oh, yes.
So
Okay,
between
it does,
sunset
right.
and the rise of a half moon is roughly 6 hours. But let's give him a bit of leeway for time of year, for the maybe it was a bit more than a half or a bit less than a half. So let's say 4 to 8 hours. But let's go on the short side. Let's say 4 hours, okay?
Okay.
How much was the first part of that journey and how much was the second part of that 4 hours? How would you split that up?
I would say 80% the first part, 20% the second part.
100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you. That's exactly what I think. Yeah, because it really didn't take long. They rode up to the keep, they shouted a few words. Jaime was like, forget it, and they went back to town. There was nothing to it.
Right.
Whereas the first part, he's got to climb all the way up. They're viewing the hills. They're talking to Hoster about the history of the name of the hills. All of that stuff happens, yeah? Okay, so let's say 3 hours and 1 hour. Let's give it a bit, for 75%, yeah? Sure. 3 hours, 1 hour. 3 hours after sunset on a non-moon night, because the moon hasn't risen, how the hell did he see those pennies nailed to that tree?
It would be really dark. Yeah.
There were no fires burning. They'd all been put out. It would have been, he'd be lucky to see the tree.
Rode right into the tree.
Exactly. It would have been pitch black. And there's no mention of them lighting any lanterns or anything. It would have been pitch, middle of the night black. Nothing to see.
Which is
later on, he counts the pennies. But at least then the moon has risen. And at half moon, you could see the pennies on the tree. But I don't think he should have been able to see those pennies when he did.
Yeah. At that point, they would have made camp and had fires burning and stuff, and you could see the tree.
But the light of the moon would be enough to see the pennies on the tree, I think. But the moon hadn't risen when he saw them first. And I think it would have been extremely dark.
I follow your line of thinking, yes. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Well done. Well thought out.
Thanks. I love that kind of thing. As soon as I saw it, I was like, well, wait a minute. I've got a sunset and a moonrise? I was thrilled because I'm getting fed up of the number of times I've just been rereading the Dunk and Egg series, and every night the moon rises at sunset. I'm like, no, that's not how it works, just so you know.
One goes down, the other pops up.
Exactly, yeah. It's like a kid's view of the solar system, All right, we don't have any news and notes, so let's move to our conclusion, shall we?
All right, let's do it.
All right, so Jaime's clearing up the mess that the war created, particularly in the Riverlands. He's an angel of peace, and he is actually making a really good job of things. Might he consider a career change, sort of United Nations for the Seven Kingdoms,
Yeah, I mean, he feels like he can't protect anybody with his left hand, so he maybe be better at this than at protection at this point.
And apart from his lashing out at Hoss when he first met him, he actually is kind of like a good mentor and role model for his squires. He has quite a few squires now, of which Hoss is kind of currently one. He is experienced. He's worthy of respect in some ways, if flawed. He lives an interesting life. He can certainly teach them how to fight, these things he's got.
I've mentioned that he is probably my favorite character once he starts getting his own POVs. But I say that on one hand. On the other hand, thanks to Jenny's influence over me, I still struggle to overlook the fact that he is the same man that pushed a boy out the window to his death.
Yeah, I've got to say, if it wasn't for Jenny, I too would have completely forgotten that he pushed Bran out of a window.
Right. So thank you, Jenny.
it is easily done. But, if you ever mention, I kind of like Jaime. Jaime, the guy who pushed Bran out the window. Okay, Jenny, I get it. I see what you're saying, yeah.
So it's tough because Martin makes him... Now, he starts out in Feast for Crows as a very unlikable character. It's not until he loses his hand that he starts to change. And it's probably a lot of that. There's also some of his interaction with Brienne, and I think they come together to create a much more likable character than the awful person pre-hand removal.
Yeah. But this whole chapter sort of is ominous for Jaime because we know that he didn't completely betray his promise to Catelyn, but Lady Stoneheart may not be willing to have a long discussion. You know, she was hanging Brienne last time we saw her.
Right.
If you hang Brienne, you're not going to hang around before hanging Jaime.
Yeah, Brienne was unable to convince Lady Stoneheart that she and Jaime were on the up and up and really trying to do the promise.
And she didn't have as many reasons to disbelieve Brienne as she does Jaime.
Yes, exactly. That, you know, this ended, as far as we know, this maneuver, freeing Raventree Hall and getting the Blackwoods to bend the knee, as far as we know, it ended the war in the Riverlands.
It's over, yeah.
Yeah, he can head back to King's Landing. He can resume his role as Lord Commander of the King's Guard, sleep in the White Tower, possibly see what he can do to help his sister, who's in quite a pickle.
Yeah.
And this redirects him. We don't know where it's going to go, but this redirects him from that path. So, you know, like I said, I've really enjoyed this new Jaime. So I hope it doesn't lead to a quick demise for him.
Yeah, yeah. Next week, we're back up to the wall to see Jon.
Yeah.
There's 3 ways that you can help us. You can leave us a 5-star rating and a review. You can buy us a cup of Arbor Gold at buymeacoffee.com/ghostsharrenhall. There you can join us at any of the various sustainer levels. There's a tier to match your budget and interest. The upper tiers get you the spoilers, and you can try any of the tiers for a week for free. Or you can make a donation directly to our cause at our website, ghostsofharrenhall.buzzsprout.com.
And first of all, I just want to thank you, Simon, for carrying this episode. And I want to thank you and our listeners for bearing with my voice situation. Hung in as best I could. I hope it wasn't too distracting.
Honestly, I think it might be for the ladies. I think they might be like, oh, he sounds so husky.
Well, on that note, if you're looking for more ways to interact with us, one thing you could do is you can send us a text. The link is at the top of every episode show notes. Just please keep in mind we have no means of responding, but we do enjoy reading your texts. And if you're interested in keeping up on the latest Ghosts of Harrenhal news and developments, well, you can go and check us out on our social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Ghost Harrenhal. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.